took Furiosa. Sorry, that's like the most memorable part of the trailer for me. When a small child yells, Furiosa! Yeah, so I watched Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. I think that's the title of the film. So this is my first ever film, like Mad Max movie. I have never watched an Angry Maxwell film, never watched any of the Mel Gibson ones, didn't watch the Tom Hardy one, and I explicitly decided to like avoid them when I heard that this was going to be a prequel because I thought it would be fun to just watch this as my first experience because why not? I also watched the prequels first. That's a good idea, isn't it? The Star Wars prequels, I should say. Um, but unlike the Star Wars prequels, this movie was awesome. I absolutely loved it. The first thing that I want to shout out is just the visual style of the movie. I love the way it looks. It makes the desert not boring. Somehow, they do this really interesting thing where everything is like saturated and like the desert is like orange. And everything is like just like feels super heightened and chaotic, and then that alongside the sound design in the movie is just peak cinema, as Martin Scorsese would say. But yeah, when it comes to the sound design, the way that they incorporated like car engines into like almost the score of the movie, like there are moments where there's not really music, but they use just the sound of car engines and they like harmonize them in a weird way that just builds up tension, and it's super just creative what they do with this, and it's very very effective. um so yeah, like the action sequences in this are absolutely spectacular. Like there is there's like a heist scene in this film that is I think it might be the best car chase in a movie I've ever seen. I don't know, like again, like that I think you probably know what I mean. There's like a scene where there's a heist and it's like super long, and that is like the peak of just everything that this movie does well, where the sound design, the car engines really being used um as if it was a part of the score, and just the way that it's shot and the way that it all plays out, and like people are sort of getting picked off one by one, and it gets to the point where Furiosa, like again, I'm trying to be kind of non-spoilery, but Furiosa kind of comes out and she's like, I'm here, I'm Furiosa now, and I'm badass, and it's like it's incredible. Like the way that George Miller directs this movie is absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, speaking of Furiosa, Anya Taylor-Joy plays the character, and she also delivers a pretty standout performance in this because she really doesn't say much at all. She's silent for the vast majority of the time that she's on screen, and she has to basically express, complex emotions and whatnot just with her face and her eyes. And she's really great in the movie. There's also a large part of the movie that's where it's actually not Anya Taylor-Joy playing Furiosa, where it's like this child character. Shout out to her, or well, it's a child actress playing the same character. So shout out to her as well. She was also very good in the film. Also, shout out to Chris Hemsworth. He plays the villain in this, and you can tell he was having so much fun making this movie. He's really able to like ham it up. It's kind of funny because kind of like Thor, he's very comedic in this. And like I know people like get mad at what they've done to Thor and the Thor movies especially. He is very comedic in this, but in a way that's obviously contextual to this world and makes sense. And he's also very menacing at the same time. And he's also just like but like he's a far more complex character as well than you would necessarily expect. So Chris Hemsworth is absolutely a standout as well. And yeah, the world is also just like super interesting. It's this like, by the way, I'm like explaining all of this, and you like people are like, yeah, I know, I've seen Mad Max movies, unlike you, but yeah, it's like this post-apocalyptic world, where like Australia, it seems like it all takes place in Australia. Everybody is like the most like extreme versions of Australian that you could possibly imagine in the accent department. I imagine it's probably just like Chris Hemsworth's just natural state of being, and he like has to like lower his power level when he's in the United States. But yeah, it's like post-apocalyptic Australia. Literally, like everything is wiped out. Like everything is just wiped out, and there are like these different factions that are that like have to work together, but then there are like conflicts that arise throughout the movie, and yeah, but it's like it is like just saying that it's post-apocalyptic isn't like, I feel like it doesn't do it enough credit. It is just like the most miserable post-apocalypse that you could possibly imagine, where there is like little to no vegetation. It seems like the most miserable possible post-apocalyptic situation you can imagine, and it's just like in a desert, and it sucks. um and yeah, and yeah, so that's the thing as well, that I feel like this also isn't just like an action movie. I do think that it does manage to tell a pretty compelling story. I think what they do with Furiosa's character and her relationships are with Chris Hemsworth, and with other characters that show up throughout the movie, I think are very effective. And I was definitely surprised at just how invested I was in her story, and how like satisfying the resolution of her character arc was by the end of it all. Because I don't know, I'll be honest, I was just kind of expecting to go into the movie and it was going to be like just action and cars crashing into each other and whatnot. But yeah, no, it's they definitely tell a compelling story here as well. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Definitely recommend it. I assume, or I should say, I'm happy now that I can just watch Mad Max Fury Road. I will look into it as far as whether or not I have to watch the Mel Gibson ones, or if I can just go straight to Fury Road. Because it's actually funny, at the end of the movie, it's almost like a Marvel like post-credits scene. During the end credits, there are like flashes of Mad Max Fury Road that showed up, and I even though I haven't sdon't Fury Road, I was like, oh shit, that's they're showing me Fury Road, and then I just like ran out of the theater because I was like, no spoilers. I don't want to see any of this. But yeah, no, it's absolutely incredible. Some of again, I like there's like a heist scene in this that I think might be my favorite car chase scene that I've ever seen. Just again, and it really honestly probably comes down mostly to that sound design. Just the way that George Miller uses car engines in this is just so spectacular. Like it's almost like the highlight of the movie. I was like, damn, he's using car engines as like instruments to create a score. And by the way, like as loud as the movie gets, because it gets very loud, there are also moments where silence, and that's like as impactful as when it's just like bram, 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 with the car engines. So yeah. Sorry, I was doing my outro and then I started glazing the movie again. Why am I doing that? Great movie, absolutely loved it. Highly recommend it if you've never seen a Mad Max movie like me. Completely accessible. Like you really don't have to watch it. Have to see anything else in order to understand this. And I assume that if you have watched Mad Max movies, this is also a satisfying experience because you get to see Furiosa's origins or whatever. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Have you seen it? Are you going to see it? Are you not going to see it? Or do you have allegiance to Dune as your favorite sand movie? Or you're like, no, I can't betray Denis Villeneuve like this. I can't watch another sand movie. Only one sand movie for me. Me personally, open relationship with sand movies. All right, I'm watching everything. Okay, I'm watching The Phantom Menace, or which is that's the sand. That's a sand movie too. But I think it's Attack of the Clones where he says that the sand is coarse. Anyways, I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I'm very, very sleep deprived, by the way. Like, I do want to make that known. If I said something dumb in this, it's because I was sleep deprived. By the way, that's actually a good note. This is how good this movie is. Like, I barely slept at all last night. I was completely engaged the entire time I was watching that movie. Coming out of the movie and recording this video, whoo boy, do I feel it. Anyways, I'm going to leave now. Bye.